Tonight on America's Dumbest Criminals, it's going to take more than acorns to coax this squirrel out of the tree. An ATM that became an ATV when some bank robbers decided to take their act on the road. And a man on the run who hopes that no one knows what goes on behind closed doors. For a revealing look at the nation's most inept crooks, stay right where you are.
Delta 1566, give me a call on your
Now, welcome your host for America's Dumbest Criminals, Daniel Butler and Debbie Allen.
Oh, we're glad you're here for tonight's show.
You've got something right there. Whoops, got your nose.
Daniel, I can't believe I fell for that.
We have to do that. That's a
All
dumb
right.
check.
You have such a playful, boyish attitude tonight. Got a question for you.
Sure. What?
Did you ever play hide and seek when you were a kid?
Oh, sure, all the time, all over the neighborhood.
What was the best place you ever hid?
Whoa, my father's sock drawer. It's, yeah.
How many socks did your father have?
Well, no, I was smaller then. And it was a big chest of drawers. You know, I got in there, I hid for 2 hours, they never found me. I had to come out, you know, but...
Okay, tonight's show is about hiding, but hiding from police is a no-no, and it's a running theme throughout several of our stories tonight. I think you'll see that time after time, the bad guys think they're eluding police, but really they're just eluding reality.
Yeah, it's like the ostrich with the head in the sand.
Yeah.
And our first story is an epic drama that has all of the elements of classic literature. Protagonist, antagonist, recurring themes, a clash of opposing views, and a bottle of cheap booze and a tree.
That's real classic literature.
Yeah, well, Shakespeare had that in there. Get comfortable, okay, folks, because this guy certainly is.
My partner and I received a call one night of somebody singing and causing a disturbance in the park. We went to the park and we were looking around trying to find out who was singing and making noise when we heard the noise coming from a tree.
Are you drunk?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? I don't know. If you can calm down, you're probably not.
Okay.
Don't you want to come down?
What do you think?
I don't know. You gonna fall?
I'm gonna live right now.
You gonna sleep?
Yeah.
Good night.
I was real concerned about the guy being way up in the tree, and I was going to try to talk him down.
Why don't you come down here and sleep? You're gonna fall out the tree and break your neck.
I was going to take him home. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted him to be safe. I wasn't even thinking about arresting him for drunk in public or anything like that.
Yeah,
The
okay.
officer was being so nice.
I know, but this guy's up a tree here. But this story is far from over, okay? That was Act 1. And we guarantee it ends with a bang, or something like that. But for now, we'll go out on a limb with another story.
Oh, I get it. This one could have ended with a bang as well, when a man set out to blow a hole in a bank. But as you'll see, his plan bombed in a big way.
Large.
We go to Orem, Utah for this week's edition of Something to Remember Me By.
September 9th, we were called to a bank on the south end of town. Upon arrival, we met with the fire department, who was in the process of cleaning out several flammable fluids from the night depository. We looked around, we found several pieces of paper that had been wadded up and looked like they'd placed inside the night depository as a wick, trying to ignite these fluids. We unrolled one of the wicks, as you might put it, and found a phone bill. Well, this phone bill had the name and address and phone number of the suspect. Come to find out that someone had, looked like, tried to cover up a theft, a simple theft. We found one of the night depository bags empty, while all the rest were still full of their money. We checked with the local theater that was actually the one that was missing the money from the night depository, and found that this person was the night manager. And while we were there, the night manager just happened to walk in, We asked him a couple of questions, and immediately he broke down and said, yes, it was me. We showed him the bill from his phone company, and he said, oh, you already knew it was me. So that was a pretty funny thing.
Officer has a great laugh and a lot to laugh about.
Yeah. And that dumb crook was now in the Wickless protection program, I believe.
Oh, I can't.
But meanwhile, back at the tree, our police officers are beginning to lose their patience with Monkey Boy, while surprisingly, our little tree sloth is somehow managing to keep his balance. Now, let's go back to Treeside for the next round in this battle of the wills.
So we had a little talk, and I was trying to be kind of lighthearted with him, and try to talk him down, put him at ease. Real funny character. I asked him if he wanted to come down and share his drink with me. Noticed that he had a bottle of whiskey or some type of alcohol up in the tree.
You give me a drink if I come up there? Oh, that's all right, it's cool. Hey, wait, come on down. Come on down.
I don't think so. You want it?
Where you live? We'll take you home. Come on. Where do you live? ¿Dónde vive?
I don't have home.
You don't have a home? You live in a tree, huh?
He eventually guzzled the whole thing down.
What you say?
I don't think so.
No habla español.
Look, look.
It's gone. What is that? He drank it all. He's going to jail.
Hey, here's another dumb law. In Memphis, it is illegal for a woman to drive a car unless a man either runs or walks in front of it, waving a red flag to warn approaching motorists and pedestrians.
That's a strange one in Memphis, Tennessee. Now, I wonder if Elvis did that for Priscilla. Okay, I admit it, when I'm driving, you need a red flag, but if my husband did that and tried that with me, I might just run right over him. Accidentally, of course. But maybe I could tell the police that my gas pedal got stuck. I think that's a better excuse than the one for speeding we're about to hear from a police officer in Bel Air, Texas.
I was working traffic in a smaller city than this. I stopped the guy for speeding. As I approached the car and I got his license, I ran it and it showed that his license was suspended. But he showed me an occupational license where he can drive to and from work. It was 3 o'clock in the morning, and the occupational license stated from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and I asked him, what type of work do you do? He told me that he worked for God. I handed him back his license and told him that that's a 24-hour job, and I sent him on his way.
And I hope that gentleman was telling the truth, or he'll get zapped by lightning. What do you think, Daniel?
Well, yeah, I mean, hey, it was a pretty good excuse, but didn't Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi try that in Blues Brothers? They were on a mission from God, and they still ended up in prison. That was a real drag. Speaking of real drags, what a segue. Here's a tale of crooks that left quite a trail when they dragged an ATM off its foundation and down the road. Apparently, they had a whole new concept for banking at home. Here's tonight's Blue Light Special.
In the middle of the night, burglars tried to make a hefty withdrawal. Not just cash, they were after the whole cash machine.
This is a shame. I don't believe this. I've never seen anything like this in my life before.
Their efforts were partially successful thanks to the heavy-duty help of this backloader and truck stolen from a nearby construction site.
Guys just think of anything, you know? I mean, unnecessary stuff, you know, to try to break into something.
Police believed the crooks were towing the ATM across the curb when this heavy chain snapped and the thieves split on the double. Their tug of war totaled the ATM, but the grand total of the crooks' take was zero, zip, nada. Not only did the cash machine keep its cash, its surveillance camera captured pictures of the thieves. Never try to outwit technology with a truck and a chain. You're the only one who'll ultimately get run down.
That's the truth. That was a bad idea. Okay, imagine a policeman who can travel faster than a speeding bullet. Well, that's just what a drunk driver thought he'd encountered. Of course, his perception was a little bit altered by the fact that he was under the influence of something more powerful than a locomotive. Watch as this officer in Provo, Utah, does a super job of overtaking a DUI gone AWOL.
Years ago, when I was working for the Highway Patrol, I was called to the interstate on a two-car accident. When I arrived, I found the first occupant of the first vehicle unconscious, slumped over the steering wheel. I found that he smelled like a brewery, and I didn't see any severe injuries on him, so I checked out the second car. The second car had several injuries, and I assisted them, and while I was in the process of doing some first aid on the second car, the first car containing the drunk driver decided to start his car and drive away. Except he wasn't going anywhere because I found that the differential had been disconnected from the drive shaft, and it was just bouncing around underneath the car, making a little bit of sparks. But unbeknownst to the drunk, he was still driving down the road. And as I ran up beside him, I motioned for him to pull over. He saw that I was beside his car. He stepped down the accelerator and tried to speed away. It only made the piece of metal underneath his car clang around a lot louder. I decided that drunk wasn't even going to get away from me in his dreams, so I started jogging in place beside his door, motioning him to pull over. His white knuckles on his steering wheel and his feet all the way to the bottom, he had that car wrapped up as fast as it could go. And I continued to jog for a second or two, motioning to pull over, and he was continually speeding away. So I jogged out in front of him and motioned for him to stop. He tried to swerve around me, even though his car wasn't moving. So I jogged back beside him, opened up the door, grabbed hold of his neck by my left hand, and his right hand was in my right hand, and I pulled him to that 100-mile-an-hour pavement, and he let out a blood-curdling scream. Proceeded to cuff him up, take him back to my stationary police car.
A trio of stories about a crook who reeks at hide and seek. But first, with news that could even raise Sam Donaldson's eyebrows, here's Daniel with ADC headlines.
While waiting to attend a safe driving class in Knoxville, a man smoked a joint in the parking lot. Just getting ready for class, dude, I guess. He was tipped off by the telltale aroma the police officer approached, which sent the pothead into a bout of reefer madness. He wheeled out of his parking space, nearly mowing down the officer. Then he parked across the street and walked back to attend his safe driving class. Instead of going to school, though, he was taken to task and charged with aggravated assault with a vehicle. All right, now here's a story about the blind leading the blind drunk. Two men were charged with various driving-related offenses in Buffalo, New York, stemming from their decision to let the brother of one who is legally blind drive because the other two were too intoxicated. Talk about your bad choice of designated drivers. But reportedly, the blind man had, quote, always wanted to drive. Phew, you know, I think I followed this guy on the way to the studio today. But finally, an accused drug dealer in Charles City, Virginia, helped in his own capture by his choice of footwear. Trying to elude police, he ran into the night through thick woods, but he was wearing athletic shoes containing small battery-operated lights. So his feet blinked with each step he took, leading police directly to him. It was sort of a Morse code for morons, you know? Well, that closes the file on ADC Headline News, ripped from somewhere near the back of your local newspaper. Debbie?
They're good. Thank you, Daniel. Now we come to the final chapter in the story of the crook who fancied himself as the long-lost member of the Swiss Family Robinson. When we left our social climber, he was gaining attitude and altitude. Now we'll find out if he or the tree will be torn limb from limb to bring this tall tale to an end.
As the fire department arrived, he decided to come down on his own instead of using their assistance and actually climbed higher to the thin branches. At the station.
You may need only a coroner if he falls out of there. May not need paramedics.
I don't think so.
He's gonna kill himself. He's gonna break. Oh man, here he comes. Here, oh, he fucked up. Oh man. Like this big grass, too. Rope him. Oh, jeez. He went the wrong way. He's going to fall. He's coming down. Better come down feet first.
I don't think so.
Oh, man, he's going to kill himself.
This guy was pretty dumb, drinking in a tree and fell down about 50 feet and could have really gotten hurt, but he was lucky, didn't get seriously injured, and was able to walk away from the hospital.
That's gonna leave a mark, huh? But remarkably, neither he nor the tree were seriously injured in the incident. As a matter of fact, that man walked out of the hospital just a few hours later with just a few scratches. And I imagine a badly bruised ego, Daniel.
Our next crook has plenty to commiserate with in the badly beaten pride department. He is yet another hapless soul who finds himself in the wrong place at the absolutely wrong time. He provides this week's fodder for I'm where? You're who?
We got a call from dispatch that there was a bank robbery alarm from a bank that's located just across the street from the police department. We see a guy running around the corner and into our parking lot, and you can tell he's running pretty hard. He's sweating, and as he ran directly towards my police car. And I got out of the car, and as I got out and pointed my gun at him, he said, oh, it's not me, it's another guy. He went that way, and I said, no, he's right here. And he turned and ran to go over a block wall, but he was so tired as he tried to go over the block wall, he couldn't get over it, and I just pointed my gun at him and said, get down off there, I'll shoot you right in the butt. When the FBI got here, we brought him into an interview room, and we asked him, know where you ran? And he says, no. I said, right into the police department. And he says, well, I should have checked it out better. And then when we asked him why he had done the robbery, he said it was because his ex-wife wanted more alimony, and he figured this is the way he could get it.
Okay, some people do dumb things when they're bored. You know, we travel the nation to prove our point that stupidity knows no limits, no state lines. We begin in Henderson, North Carolina.
About a couple of months ago, we received a call from 911 that the individual was trying to break into a body lingerie shop. Upon arrival, we found where the suspect had threw a large brick through the window and crawled through it. He low crawled to the back of the store, removed some panties and pantyhoses and stuck them in his pocket. He was so low that he didn't activate the alarm. Owner finally came, arrived on the scene. We set up a perimeter around the building. Myself and two of our officers went inside the building conducting the search. We searched everywhere. At first, we didn't find him. Something didn't seem right, so we re-entered the building, conducted another search, and lo and behold, the subject, he was hiding in the bathroom with some boxes amongst the clothing. We ordered him out and handcuffed him, asked him why he did it. The subject said he was bored. He didn't have nothing else to do that night.
It's not unusual for police to return evidence to the victim after a trial is over, but here's a request that was clearly dumbness in the first degree.
That's a good way to put it. We think you'll agree that it definitely belongs in the Hall of Fame we call We're Not Making This Up.
When I used to work in Los Angeles, one of the other officers found some marijuana in a car full of teenagers, and they charged the teenagers with possession of the marijuana. Well, for some technical reasons, the district attorney decided not to prosecute, so the next day, the parents of one of the teenagers called up and said, we understand you're not prosecuting. And the officer said, yes. And he says, well, good. Can we have the marijuana back?
Way to go, Mom and Dad, for setting the moral tone of that family.
Well, so now we know who it really belonged to, don't we?
Exactly.
It was Mom and Dad's. And the moral of this story was, wasted not, wanted not.
No, that's not true. And neither is the expression, it never hurts to ask.
True, but it does hurt to say goodbye. But don't cry. We'll be back next week with another paddy wagon full of dumb criminal stories.
And remember, if you've got a lead on a story, or you just can't wait till next week for more state-of-the-art stupidity, Visit our website at www.dumbcrimes.com.
And we want to thank you for joining us and extend our gratitude to the law enforcement officers who make this show possible. And every day they lay their lives on the line to keep us safe from the stupidity of would-be criminals.
And as always, we hope that we've all learned from others' mistakes.
But if you haven't, we just might see you next week on America's Dumbest Criminals.
Bye-bye.